first thing I want to talk through is if you are new to timesheets, then one of the first things that you want to do, if you haven't done this with your implementation specialist, or maybe you've been using OnTarget for years and you're wanting to start using timesheets, which is great. To do is really some configuration. So first thing, let's just look here at configure security, configure roles. And most of you have a direct care staff role or therapists or DSP, something of that sort, paraprofessionals, right? So the first thing, just giving basic access to timesheets. So right here in the list, they've got to at least have just this top level timesheets. That's really the main thing that they need. In fact, that's primarily all direct care staff, DSPs, paraprofessionals would need. They just need to be able to see their own timesheet, verify their time, sign off on it, all that good stuff. So this is really what you would see for that type of role. For roles like security admins, payroll managers, anybody that's going to be processing payroll, it's a bit more complex, and you typically would see all of these checkboxes. So 4 of these, the variance, these 3 variance reports, and then this timesheet audit are actually reports. We'll talk about the timesheet audit report in the sequence. If you've never used that or you've never seen that, it's just a great tool to help manage timesheets on OnTarget. Super user mode is if you've used Note super user mode. It's kind of similar in that it's very, very powerful. It allows whomever has access to that per their role the ability to see all timesheets. So again, something very, very much only for security admins, for payroll administrators, folks in those kind of roles. And then finally, the bulk approve, again, a very, very powerful function that that not a lot of folks are going to have. Also including delete timesheets. Certainly don't want just anybody having the ability to delete timesheets. So that's really the role configuration, just kind of starting out. Those are kind of the major pieces that you've got to have if you're just getting started out and you're kind of thinking about getting the roles configured. And, I'll give you guys kind of some instructions at the end. Like if you do want to kind of move forward with this, certainly we are there to support you. We're there to give you the support that you need there from a training aspect, from implementation. Next thing, let me just kind of go through again, just kind of blazing through some of this configuration, and then we'll actually get into the demo, kind of the bulk of what the timesheets look like in OnTarget, especially if you've never seen it. So from list configuration, one of the other things you've got to do here is a little bit of configuration here. So timesheets and rules. Typically, agencies will enable this function right here. So it's the second from the bottom, timesheet auto add associate time records. What that does is it basically, once a note gets created, signed, and approved for payroll, a timesheet is going to get automatically created, and the data service and that time record is going to get automatically pulled into that timesheet. That's a really great automated function, and most agencies that go the timesheet route are going to be enabling that. If you don't enable that, you're basically relying on your staff to create their own timesheets from scratch. So typically that's enabled. The other thing that goes along with that, that's really a twofer, like you've got to have this enabled if you have the prior enabled, is the auto create time records on note approval. So those 2 functions really do work hand in hand. The prior function will not work unless this function is enabled. And again, you don't have to have those enabled. If your workflow does not include that automation, that's fine. Just kind of be aware that if you do, you got to have both of those enabled in order for everything to work and sync up properly. Last piece that I want to show for configuration for timesheets under, again, list configuration. And this is under payroll. Sorry, it actually is under timesheets, it's not under payroll, is the pay periods, and that is vitally important. So scroll down, we'll see just kind of some newer pay periods that have been created. If you've already been using timesheets for a long time, this is going to be old hat for you. But if this is new, this is certainly something you want to pay attention to. So you've got your start and your end date. Some of this is pretty self-explanatory. We typically suggest if you're starting out with timesheets, go ahead and load up for the entire year, right? So if you've got 6 months left, 5 left of the year, or if you're going to start this, say, in January, there's no harm in going ahead and just loading up your pay periods, because the real control is through the visibility. This is very, very important. So the visibility checkbox is just that. It allows that timesheet, that pay period, to be visible to your staff, as well as to your payroll managers, as well as to anybody who's actually managing the payroll aspect of this or the timesheets. The other aspect is the closure of timesheets. That becomes vitally important if you have some of this automation on. Once you've sort of processed your payroll, once you've run some of the reports that we're going to talk about in just a bit, you do want to close your pay period. By closing the pay period, it essentially locks down the pay period. It makes it read-only, and it prevents any additional time from coming into that pay period. So the idea here is that typically payroll manager, security admin, somebody is in here managing this. They're managing the visibility. They're managing the closure of the pay periods. They're opening them up and making them visible. And typically we suggest only having, and this is not what you're seeing here, but we do typically suggest you have no more than 2 pay periods visible at any one time. Sign by is just that. You can set an automated reminder. So when you set a date and time, that will send an automated reminder to the staff if they have not signed their timesheet yet. So they have to attest, they've got to review their timesheet at the end of the pay period, they've got to sign off on it. And this is an automated reminder, and it only goes out to those folks who have not signed off on their timesheets yet. And you can advance this. So if you had this set for today and you wanted to advance this every 15 minutes, right? If you're kind of under a crunch time, you're trying to get your numbers, even if you're using an outside payroll system and you're just trying to get a hold of your numbers for payroll, you can advance this and really kind of get as annoying as you need to. So just keep that in mind as well. You've got that as a tool at your disposal. And I believe that is everything with configure. Any questions so far? I'll kind of check the chat. Any questions? Oh, perfect. Looks like, let's see. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Heather. Has anything changed around the creation of timesheets for multiple staff? No, unfortunately, we do not have any changes. So I'm assuming you mean like doing that in bulk creating, sort of like an add by pay period on a multiple or bulk basis. I think that's what you maybe mean, Heather. None of that has changed. Again, we do have the automated creation. So that will certainly bulk create, but not in sort of a on-demand multi-create fashion. All right, guys, should still be able to see my my page here. All right, we'll keep going. All right, so let's just kind of start this quickly from a DSP perspective. We've got about 15 minutes left. I think we can kind of blaze through this. Typically, again, notes are the driver of timesheets in most cases. There are cases where notes just simply are not going to be the best driver of creating timesheets. You certainly can replicate paper process where your folks are manually adding their time to timesheets and it's not pulling in from signed approved notes. That is always an option. So we'll kind of touch on that briefly, but very quickly, I do want to just create a couple of quick notes. So we're going to use our Johnny Cool here. I'm going to create a note for yesterday. I'm going to create this starting with our community networking. And let's just say we did some time from 8 to 12. I'm going to create that note. I'm going to pull this through very quickly. All right, and let me go ahead and sign that note. All right, so typically, this is kind of that starting off point, right, for kind of folding into timesheets for your staff. I'm going to create one more note just for a little bit of variety here. So let's go back to our Johnny Cool. Let's say that today we did a little bit of day support individual. And yours may or may not look exactly like this, but let's say we did, I'm just going to put in here, actually, let's go and do 3 hours. Let's say 7 to 10. Create our note. In here. Just getting those validations. You guys are, most of you are familiar with those. So I'm just overriding those validations. All right. So let's kind of put on our supervisor hat. Some of you may have a function turned on to auto approve timesheet, or rather notes. If that's the case, then it's just going to automatically flow right into the timesheet. Okay. So there would be no approval necessary from a supervisor. A majority, I think, of our agencies that are using on Target Platform, they have a set of eyes on this, right? So they've got a supervisor reviewing the notes, approving the notes. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's kind of put our supervisor hat on real quick. Let's go ahead and approve this. And so I'm going to approve for both billing and vitally for payroll. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And then we should see this flow through to approved. And then you will also notice, check this out, success note was successfully processed, auto imported to time record successfully, auto imported to timesheet successfully. So I'm getting that message because of that automation that I turned on, because I have that function toggled on that says auto create timesheet, auto pull in the time records into that timesheet. Let me go ahead and do the same for this note. All right. So from the desktop view, and again, I'm logged in as both the DSP and the other supervisor, streamline this process. But again, typically DSP creates the node, signs the node. It's being reviewed by a secondary individual, by the supervisor. They're approving for payroll, and then that automatically pulls into a timesheet. And so you can actually see that right there. We've got those two pieces of time. So not only was the timesheet automatically created based on the pay period, but the time that fell within that pay period automatically pulled into the timesheet. So that's what I'm seeing right here. If you get a chance, guys, I don't think we're going to have time for this, but if you get a chance, certainly check out also the mobile app. I will certainly send out the link to the video for the mobile app and just kind of showing the timesheet functionality. You're going to see a mobile-friendly version of what you're seeing right here from the DSP perspective. So the DSP opens up their phone, launches the OnTarget mobile app, clicks on timesheets, and they're going to see something very similar to this, only again mobile formatted. They're going to see their hours totaled. You see here in the bottom left. They're going to see the billable units. So all of that's going to kind of tally up and just present in a more mobile-friendly format. All right, guys. So just in the interest of time, we're going to keep moving. And then I do see that we've got a couple of things in the chat. We'll definitely try to answer those by the end. Last thing I want to show you from the admin perspective. So an admin then is going to take this over, and the first thing that they really want to do is run the timesheet audit report. Okay, so actually backing up, I do want to show you, I can also add non-billable time. Many of you are already familiar with this, but if you're not, I can add things like mileage, personal time, training time. I can add, kind of those types of things here to my timesheet as well. So units in this case would be in terms of miles for mileage. So if I go ahead and plug that in on here, again, I'm getting some validations. That's fine. But you will see this was manually entered time. And there you go, 30 miles. And that's just an example of being able to add that non-billable time to my timesheet as well. All right, so for the DSP, all I'm concerned with at this point, if all of my time looks good, and I certainly can't stress this enough, the DSPs, your direct care staff, are not coming in here daily signing a timesheet, okay? This is going to happen at the end of the pay period. Whatever you determine per your agency, whatever the guideline is and your cutoff, they're going to come in here, review their time. Everything looks good. If all of their time is represented, if there's any non-billable time that does need to be paid, they're simply going to sign off on their timesheet. And let me get my correct password in here. And there we go. You can now see it says signed, which is great. And then the final step for the auditor, for the payroll specialist, is to do some of this reporting. So one really, really great tool, I know we've got about 5 minutes left, so timesheet audit report. So if I run this, it's a really great report if you're not familiar with it. And I can just run this wide open for a pay period. And what I can see here, I'm just going to zoom in so you can see it. I see the employee first and last name, start and end date of the pay period. And most importantly, I'm seeing the status of the timesheet. So imagine I have an entire listing of 100, 200, 300 staff here. I can see who has signed, who has not signed, has it been approved yet? Approval is actually vitally important if you're using our payroll module. But certainly you want to get your folks to sign the timesheets. You want to get the timesheets approved. You can see who approved it. Here in this case, it was Supervisor Sam. And this full listing, and we can see absolutely this thing has not been approved yet. So you can target that. You can say, look, let me see where maybe they have been signed, but they have not been approved. So I put an S for signed and U for unapproved. And there you go. Right. So I can see this one has not been approved yet. I would potentially see multiple that have not been approved. Per this role, I can also delete time. That is something that you saw back in the configure and configure roles. So this is not something that typically a DSP would see. They're not going to simply be able to just delete time off and delete timesheets. But if I needed to delete a timesheet, I would just simply remove that time from the timesheet. And then here we go. And then let me just refresh this very quickly. And then there you go. You'll see now I could actually just delete that timesheet altogether. So just wanted to show you that really briefly. Okay, last thing I want to show you guys, you certainly could go, and again, let's say you've got 100 staff, you've got 200 staff, right? You can laboriously go through here and export each individual timesheet. That is not at all what we would suggest. There's a report for that. So let me just kind of again drill down to this pay period. So you've got these filters available up here. I could say, look, this is the pay period I'm working with. And imagine again, I've got 100 of these, right? I've got 200 of these, and I'm trying to get all this information ready for payroll. You could certainly export the timesheets one by one. You've probably seen this before. That is super, super inefficient and not suggested. And you can print these, you can export them. The preferred method is actually using what is called the employee timesheet report. Many of you are familiar with this. If you're not, and this is your first time seeing this, it is typically under billing and time records. And you should see that right here at employee timesheet. And so I'm going to run this for the pay period of 8/16 to 8/31. And so this is a really great report where, again, if I have 200 timesheets for this pay period and they all need to come through here, I can run this report and see everything. Now, what you'll notice, this is only going to pull approved and signed timesheets at this point. So guess what? I need to approve this thing very quickly. Approval is right here in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to go ahead and get that approved. Now you can see it displays as approved. I'm going to go back to timesheets, hit that employee timesheet report again, plug in my date range for my pay period. And now I'm going to run that report. All right. Some really good info here. So there we go. There's our 4 regular hours at $12.50 an hour for the community networking. I can see my mileage there. That's paid at 50 cents a mile. However, you will also see I have errors on here. So vitally important to this report working is you have to set up what are called pay types. Okay. We're not going to have enough time today to really go into the details on that. So if you are more interested, you really, really want to push forward with timesheets, you're going to have to get what are called pay types set up. Pay types are really just the way that the system is able to reconcile and determine, based on the services and the hours provided, what's the total, right? What's that extended amount by the multiplier? What should they be getting paid? So what this is showing me, this report will actually show you missing pay types. So if you try this out, if you test this on your end and you're like, hey, I'm getting these errors, or, I don't know what's going on here. Basically what it's telling me is the system cannot currently resolve how many hours of the day support individual were provided, because that's missing from the employee record. So very quickly, we're right at time. I promise we're going to do this in about 1 or 2 minutes. So let's go to Supervisor Sam. And what we're missing, we are missing a pay type. And what that pay type is, it's actually day support, and I think it's day support employee. This is out of the Charlotte office. You don't have to assign a client. That's not required unless you are using payroll and you're actually paying a rate differential based on the client. Service, this is big time, right? This is really what was missing, was that day support individual. And just for visual, I'm just going to add in a rate and an overtime rate, get that saved. All right, so now when I go back and I run this report, I should see that error drop off. So let's rerun that report. And sure enough, guys, there we go. Now the system is able to resolve that I provided 3 hours of the day support. And then, of course, it's showing the rate. It's tallying up all of my hours. So just imagine, again, you've got now 100, 200 of these timesheets, and you need to, this is essentially your way of processing and exporting in bulk. Okay. So I would see this one after the other. And there are different versions of this. So if you want the standard report, you can certainly do that. If you want a daily summary, it just gives you kind of a different version, a different flavor of this that breaks it out day by day. So you can see that here. And then we do also have some unformatted. Unformatted is a great way to export using Excel. So it really is the unformatted daily and the unformatted kind of regular reports. Those are just tailor-made for exporting to Excel. And they are really, really great for taking that data, transposing it, and using it outside of OnTarget. So that's another great way. Like, again, if you're not using OnTarget for payroll, but you want to be able to use timesheets, this is certainly a great way to use it. And I would definitely say using this employee timesheet report is the way to go.